In this section, we will cover a complete amplifier and capacitor installation. A capacitor helps regulate voltage. This will help prevent power surges often indicated by dimming headlights. A capacitor will also increase the output and efficiency of your system by maintaining constant voltage to the amplifier. This DVD will take you step by step through the entire process. Step 1. What you'll need. First, let's begin with what you will need. Scosche offers several amplifier wiring solutions. For this install, we used a capacitor, power wire with inline fuse holder, ground wire, RCA cable, battery terminal, installation hardware, and an amplifier turn-on wire. You will also need speaker wire to run from the amp to your subwoofer. Scosche has many speaker wire solutions available. Please consult your local retailer. Next, check to see that you have all of the necessary tools on hand. We recommend the Scosche TK12 toolkit. It includes panel removal tool, wire strippers, crimpers, and cutters, a screwdriver with 7 interchangeable bits, cable runner tool, wire ties, splice connectors, electrical tape, and a computer-safe test light. In some cases, you will need an electric drill. For assistance, call Scosche Technical Support. We'll gladly answer your questions. Step 2. Where to mount the amp and cap. In this section, we will find a suitable location to mount the amp and cap. Be aware of the following. You'll need to access the amps, fuses, and controls. Give yourself enough room to attach wire and make adjustments. Check the area where the amplifier will be mounted and be sure it is free of wiring, brake lines, or fuel lines that may be in the way. Finally, the amp will generate heat, so do not cover it with carpet or anything else that will prevent airflow across the amp. Step 3. Routing the power lead. Next, we will route the main power wire. Let's go to the battery of the car. Plan your wire routing around all moving parts and heat sources. Let's disconnect the negative terminal of your battery. This will prevent damage to the vehicle's electronics and ensure a safe install. Take the power wire from the amp kit. Plan how you are going to run the power wire through the engine compartment and ultimately into your car's interior. Now remove the fuse from the inline fuse holder. Now we will install the battery terminal. Remove the factory terminal and cut the power wires from the stock battery terminal. Next, secure the new terminal to the battery. Now we can reconnect the factory wires. Then connect the amplifier's power wire. Also, make sure the wire is neatly secured and free from moving parts and heat sources. Secure neatly with wire ties. Find an area where you can run the wire from the engine compartment through the firewall. It is always best to use a factory grommet if available. In some cases, you will need to drill a hole through the firewall. When drilling, always check behind the surface to make sure it is free and clear from any obstructions. When feeding the power wire through the firewall, use the grommet supplied in the wiring kit. Carefully remove the trim to gain access to where the power wire will run. Typically, you will need to remove the kick panel and door sill. Now, route the power wire through the panels from the side of the vehicle. pull the wire through the kick panels. A good rule of thumb is to replace the kick panels as you pass the power wire through. This will make the reassembly process easier. Run the wire through to the rear of the vehicle. Typically, you can run it through the rear seats. If your seats fold down, be sure to route the wire away from any hinges and moving parts. Once in the trunk, route the cable to your amplifier's mounting location. Let's locate a bare metal surface on the car, preferably on the frame. Without a well-connected ground, the amp may not work or produce unwanted noise. Now you can connect your ground wire. For the best connection, it is recommended that you scrape away the paint with a wire brush or a tool. When connecting ring terminals, use wire strippers or crimpers to remove 1/4 to 1/2 inch of the cable's jacket. Proceed to crimp on the ring terminal and use the supplied rubber boot to protect the connection. When installing an amp and cap, you will need to connect 2 ground wires, one for the amp and one for the cap. Now secure the ground cables to the frame and route them to the mounting location. Double check to make sure your power wire is still secure and routed away from moving parts and heat sources. Step 4. Routing the RCAs and amplifier turn-on wire. Now we're going to route the RCAs and amp turn-on wire. First, remove the radio. This may require radio removal tools. There are as many mounting methods as there are radios. So if you have questions on how to remove your radio, consult the radio's manual or call Scosche Technical Support. We'll gladly talk you through this, or we'll send you the information you'll need. Once you have the radio removed, you will need to connect the amp turn-on wire and RCA interconnects to the RCA cable runner. Secure with electrical tape. Run the RCAs through the dash. Pull the wire all the way through. It is important to route the RCAs separately from the power wire. This will reduce any unwanted noise in the system. A good rule of thumb is to keep them at least 9 inches away from the power wire. Routing the RCAs on the opposite side of the car from the power wires is always the preferred method. Run the wire along the firewall. You may need to remove the kick panel for access. Make sure that the RCAs do not interfere with the gas or brake pedals. Run the wire through the kick panel and along the door sill, down the entire length of the vehicle. Again, you may want to replace the trim panels before you continue. Make sure they snap in place. Also ensure the wire is not crimped or pinched in between the trim panels. Now run the wire into the trunk. Now let's connect the amp turn-on wire and RCAs back at the stereo. First, locate the audio outputs at the rear of your stereo. Be sure to note which is right and left. Connect the RCAs. Next, attach the amp turn-on wire with a splice connector. Make sure the connection is secure.